The war room fell silent. In 3 centuries, no one had dared speak those words aloud. "The truth would destroy everything," Lysander replied. "Trillions of lives depend on the stability the Empire provides. Without the Emperor, we'd have chaos, war, entire civilizations wiping each other out." "But the lie is already failing," Helena pressed. "Every year, more people question the story. Eventually, someone will uncover the truth, and then we'll have chaos anyway, plus the added betrayal of centuries of deception." Lysander turned back to the holographic display, watching the false signals from the royal fleet pulse steadily in the void. Each dot represented a ship that no longer existed, a crew that had died centuries ago, a truth that had been buried to preserve the peace. "Admiral," Kane reported, "we're receiving an urgent transmission from the Deep Space Monitoring Station at Kepler 442. They're detecting massive energy signatures in the Andromeda void. Something's coming through the dimensional barriers." Lysander's heart stopped. Impossible. Nothing could survive in dimensional space for 3 centuries. But even as he spoke, the holographic display began updating with new contacts. Massive ships, their energy signatures matching Imperial technology, but modified beyond recognition, were emerging from the same dimensional rift that had swallowed the royal fleet. "Admiral," the communications officer called out, her voice shaking, "we're receiving a transmission on the Emperor's personal frequency. It's actually him." Emperor Aurelius's face appeared on the main screen, aged and scarred by centuries in dimensional space, but unmistakably alive. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship showed modifications that spoke of desperate survival and adaptation to impossible conditions. "My loyal subjects," the Emperor's voice carried the weight of centuries. "I have returned from the darkness beyond reality itself. The Great Crusade has revealed truths about our universe that will reshape everything we believe. Prepare for my arrival, we have much to discuss." Lysander stared at the screen in shock, realizing that their greatest lie was about to become the most impossible truth. The Emperor they had pretended was alive for 3 centuries had somehow actually survived, transformed by his journey through dimensions that existed beyond normal space-time. The galaxy would soon learn that sometimes the most essential lies become the foundation for the most extraordinary realities. The royal fleet had never reached its intended destination, but it had found something far more significant, a path to survival that would challenge everything the Empire thought it knew about the universe itself. As the returning fleet approached Imperial space, Lysander understood that the lie that had held the galaxy together. High Commander Zeth Kalar floated in the observation chamber of the hegemony dreadnought Eternal Dominion, watching the 3rd planet of the Sol system rotate peacefully below. Earth appeared deceptively serene: blue oceans, white clouds, green continents unmarked by the scars of galactic warfare. The humans had been under observation for 2 centuries, catalogued as a primitive species, barely capable of interplanetary travel. Today, that assessment would prove catastrophically wrong. "Commander," reported Scanner Prime Vaildos, his crystalline carapace shimmering with anxiety, "the human vessels are maintaining their positions around their homeworld. 43 ships total, mostly converted cargo haulers and mining platforms." Zeth Kalar's mandibles clicked in what passed for amusement among his species. The hegemony fleet numbered over 3,000 vessels, each one a masterpiece of military engineering honed by 10 millennia of galactic conquest. This would be the shortest campaign in their recorded history. "Begin standard subjugation protocols," he ordered. "Target their communication satellites first, then disable their primitive defense platforms. We want them isolated and helpless when we make our demands." The first wave of hegemony fighters swept toward Earth's orbital infrastructure, their energy weapons charging for what should have been surgical strikes against defenseless targets. Zeth Kalar had witnessed this dance hundreds of times across dozens of worlds, initial shock, desperate resistance, then inevitable surrender. But something went wrong. The human satellites didn't simply absorb the energy beams and explode. Instead, they seemed to drink in the attacks, glowing brighter before releasing the absorbed energy back at the attackers in concentrated bursts. 3 hegemony fighters vaporized in the first exchange. "Impossible," Vel'Thos whispered, his scanning instruments recalibrating frantically. "Their defensive systems are using our own weapons against us. The energy absorption coefficient is beyond theoretical maximums." Zeth-Kalar felt the first stirring of unease. "Deploy the second wave. Target their ground installations." The larger hegemony cruisers moved into bombardment position, their massive cannons preparing to reduce Earth's major cities to glass. But as they powered up their weapons, something unprecedented happened. The space around Earth began to distort. "Commander!" Vel'Thos's voice cracked with panic. Massive gravitational anomalies detected throughout the system. The humans, they're manipulating space-time itself. Through the observation ports, Zeth-Kalar watched in growing horror as the fabric of reality bent around Earth. The human ships, previously scattered and apparently helpless, began moving in perfect coordination. Not through conventional propulsion, but by riding waves in space-time that they somehow controlled. "How?" Zeth-Kalar demanded. "Our intelligence reports showed them using chemical rockets as recently as 50 years ago." "Sir," Communications Prime Drorka interrupted. "We're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. It's in perfect hegemony standard." The main display flickered to life, revealing a human female in what appeared to be a simple military uniform. She looked unremarkable by galactic standards, small, fragile, lacking the natural armor or energy projections that mark truly dangerous species. But her eyes held something that made Zeth-Kalar's combat-hardened nerves recoil. "Greetings, hegemony forces," the human said calmly. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Fleet. We've been expecting you." "Expecting us?" Zeth-Kalar found his voice. "Your species barely achieves spaceflight. You cannot possibly. 237 years ago, your scout ships first entered our system," Admiral Chen interrupted. "We detected them immediately, of course. Did you really think a species capable of surviving on a Class M death world would be so primitive?" The words hit Zeth-Kalar like physical blows. Class M death world? Intelligence had classified Earth as a standard garden world, perfectly suited for biological development. "Your intelligence is flawed," he managed. "Earth is a benign environment." Admiral Chen's expression didn't change, but something shifted behind her eyes, something predatory. "Commander, Earth has an active molten core that creates a magnetic field protecting us from lethal radiation. Our atmosphere is 21% oxygen, so reactive that a single spark can cause explosive combustion. We experience regular seismic events that reshape continents, weather patterns that can generate wind speeds exceeding 200 kilometers per hour, and temperature variations that span over 100 degrees Celsius." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "We didn't develop on a garden world, Commander. We evolved in hell, and we learned to make it our ally." As if summoned by her words, the space around the hegemony fleet began to change. The humans weren't just manipulating gravity, they were weaponizing the fundamental forces of the universe itself. Solar radiation that should have been dispersed harmlessly through space was being focused and directed. The very vacuum was becoming a conductor for energies that the hegemony's most advanced physics couldn't explain. "Impossible," Vel'Thos screamed as his instruments overloaded. "They're using stellar energy as a directed weapon. No species has ever achieved controlled stellar manipulation." Admiral Chen's image remained steady on the screen. "You've spent 10 millennia conquering civilizations that developed on comfortable worlds, Commander. species that evolved in safety, that learned to cooperate because their environments demanded it. You've never encountered a species that learned to survive by mastering forces that could annihilate them. The first hegemony capital ship died in a burst of concentrated starlight that left no wreckage, only superheated plasma. Then another. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were demonstrating casual mastery over forces that the hegemony considered acts of nature. How long? Zeth-Kalar whispered, understanding beginning to dawn. How long have you possessed this technology? Since before your species achieved interstellar flight, Admiral Chen replied. We've been watching your empire expand across the galaxy, studying your methods, learning your weaknesses. Did you think the universe's apex predators would remain hidden forever? The truth crashed over Zeth-Kalar like a tidal wave. Humanity hadn't been a primitive species developing in isolation. They had been apex predators, deliberately concealing their capabilities, allowing the hegemony to spread across the galaxy, to gather all potential threats in one place where they could be systematically eliminated. You've been herding us, he realized. For 2 centuries, Admiral Chen confirmed. Every expansion of your empire brought more potential rivals under your banner. Every conquest made our eventual task simpler. When we finally reveal ourselves to the galaxy, there will be only one force left to eliminate. Around the Sol system, space itself became a weapon as humanity dropped the pretense of being a developing civilization. Stars dimmed as their energy was harvested and redirected. Gravity wells formed and collapsed on command. The very laws of physics seemed to bend to human will. Zeth-Kalar watched his vast fleet